Now we're turning into the hot box.
All right, yeah. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We usually have some latecomers anyways, but we can't wait much longer on this. How's it going, guys?
Great.
You guys had a good retreat so far? Good. We'll get excited. We've got a big topic to cover here. We have Wyatt and CLM. A lot of what we're doing in 2015 revolves around these two tools. That's why, I don't know why they have Ben and I presenting it. But here we go. When you look at a dashboard, you can see a lot of things. When you're driving your car, if you're driving to work, maybe your check engine light comes on. You don't look at your speedometer to see if your engine's okay. That'd be ridiculous. You're looking at the wrong tool, you're not going to get to your destination. We have a lot of tools within Wyatt. Our goal for today, what we want you to take away from this presentation, is we want you to better be able to better understand each of the tools and how to use them. We want you to be able to look at your dashboard and not be intimidated by all the different things that you have available to you. We're going to go through some of the more important topics from both Wyatt and CLM and explain to you how to use them to win in 2015 to get to your destination. In today's presentation, we're going to cover activities and opportunities in the CLM, the sales order dashboard, CLM filters. Does everybody in here know what those are? Don't lie to me, nobody has any idea what that is.
I know.
And then the My Action Items dashboard. Some of these are some really big tools that we're really excited to share to you. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. First off, we have opportunities and activities. Does everybody know what these are? When do you create an activity? That's a good answer. I like that immediately. What type of thing warrants having an activity?
Interaction with the customer.
Any type of interaction with a customer is an activity. It could be you went and met with them face to face. You called them, left a voicemail. You emailed them. All of these touches are activities. Why is it important that we record all those?
So the next person knows what's going on?
Exactly. Calls and emails are the gears that drive our ops. If we're recording our calls and our emails, we're going to be driving our ops. Ops are important. Why? Money. We're sales reps. We want money. If you're using your calls and emails and your activities correctly, you're going to be driving your opportunities. What is an opportunity? When do you create an opportunity? Immediately. But when do you create an opportunity?
When you recognize a quote or the sale.
Anything that has money tied to it in any way is an opportunity. Does anybody in here know what your budget is for closed lost opportunities in 2015?
No.
There's no such thing as a budget for closed lost opportunities. Does anybody in here create opportunities for when they lose something? A closed lost opportunity?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you really? Because I see the numbers. Closed lost, I think the biggest problem we have is that reps see a closed lost opportunity as a failure on their part. That's not the case at all. Closed opportunities are what we use to not only forecast, but see how we were doing in the past and plan. If you have a phone call where somebody's talking to you and they say, you ask them, what are you doing for shoes this year? And they say, actually, I just placed a big order for Nike shoes. What are you going to do?
An opportunity last day, we need Nike shoes.
Exactly. Everybody hear that?
Yes.
If somebody says, no, I can't order shoes from you, I just ordered Nike shoes, it's very important that you put in an opportunity that we close lost. We did not win shoes this year from that customer. But what does that opportunity give us? Next year. We know next year, come this time, we're not going to wait till this time next year to call them about shoes. If I called them today and they said they just ordered shoes from Nike, guess what I'm going to do next year, or I guess later this year in November? I'm going to call them and see if they need shoes for the coming year. I'm going to beat that other sales rep there. You can plan based off these closed lost opportunities to be more successful later in the year. Now also, if you're looking at closed lost opportunities, everybody in here says, for example, Nike shoes is a good one. We want to be able to go to market or product development and say we need to offer Nike shoes, right?
So someone read to them?
Yes. Yes. So when you're talking about closed lost opportunities, if I go over to product development right now and say we need to offer Nike shoes, what kind of firepower do I have?
Lost opportunity.
Lost opportunities. How many do you think we have in there from this last year?
One.
Maybe 2. How much firepower do I have if I go to House Product Development to carry Nike shoes right now? How much do I have when I go over and say, well, we had 2 lost ops, and I think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal. It's going to be a game changer. We have no firepower. Closed lost ops are not a negative thing. That's how we plan to succeed in the future. Every time you're on a phone call, you should be pushing for some sort of an opportunity. Granted, some of them might be a closed lost. Yes, we didn't get their bags because we couldn't get them to them on time. That's an opportunity. We lost it, but now we know that we need to be quicker in the future. That's more firepower. If we go down and say we need production to be quicker, why? Because we're losing opportunities because of our turn times. Well, how many examples do you have? Well, I have 2 right now. But trust me, it's a big deal. No, you have to have these closed lost opportunities. That gives us the firepower and the backup when we go to make these types of decisions. Right now we have none. We're out of ammo. So, be creating opportunities. Every phone call you're on is a chance for you to create an activity and an opportunity. When do you create an activity on a phone call, or why? It's making it so you can succeed in the future. If you call a coach and they're in a hurry, they say, I'm busy right now, I can't talk. What do you say? Sorry for bothering you, coach. Exactly. When can I call you back? The worst thing you say is, oh, sorry for bothering you, coach. I'll talk to you later. No. We're going to be salesmen in 2015. We're going to use our activities to be salesmen in 2015. Ask that coach, when's a good time for me to call you? Maybe Bob at Manhattan High School says, I got my planning period on Friday at 3 o'clock. What are you going to do? Make sure that you call him on Friday at 3 o'clock. Have we been doing that in the last 6 months?
No.
No. A lot of that is the fault of CLM. We did not have our CLM filters. We had no visibility of what our tasks looked like. Should be a very exciting thing. Everybody should be very excited because CLM filters have been fixed. And I'll actually hop out and show you here in just a second. But what you should be doing on every phone call is having a follow-up. It may not be calling you on Friday, but you should be figuring out, even if they're not placing an order with you right now, asking questions like, what do you guys do for end-of-the-year gifts? Do you guys give out like a gift to all of your seniors that are graduating? That's a very open-ended question. They may say, no, we don't need anything right now. We don't do stuff like that because we can't afford it. That right there should trigger for you, oh, we have fundraising options with the Team Store and Coaches Assistant coming this fall. Start building those types of pipelines. Set an activity for you to call them maybe in August of this coming year to start getting them some fundraising ideas so they can do end-of-year gifts for their seniors that are graduating. All these are very easy ways to start building up your activities and building this pipeline of people that you know you're going to call. You always want to have that next step. Every customer that you talk to should have some sort of activity to follow up with them at some point. It may not be you, it may be a different rep, but somebody always needs to call them back about something. You should always be looking at that next step. What are you guys doing in 3 months from now? What are you guys doing for warm-ups next fall? What kind of uniform rotation do you guys run at the school? Those are the types of questions that you need to be asking, and then setting activities to follow up to make sure that you've closed on those. That's why activities and opportunities are important. So, I'll show you the filter here in a little bit, but the next thing I want to talk about, subjects on your activities. Why are they important? Exactly. I point out with this laser, but as you can see, it doesn't work on the TV. So that's super helpful. So, what's right here? This is the subject. Does everybody fill that subject in with very helpful information every time they create an activity?
Yes, every time.
Sometimes. Sometimes. That's what I'm talking. We need to do it every time. Why? Why is that so important? Ooh, slow down. This is what an account looks like if you're not using your subjects. If this customer called you right now and said, oh yeah, I already talked to Andy. He has all the sizes for my order. What are you going to have to do? You're going to go digging. Get a shovel. There's a lot of activities. You're going to come yell at Andy. Yeah, he deserves it on this. Why? What could have made this so much easier?
If you just put a subject.
Just put a subject. It takes like 2-3 seconds to type in something. Here's what it looks like if you put in a subject. If this customer called in and said, I want to talk about your sizes, or the sizes that I said Andy, where are you probably going to look first? My pointer worked. Email me sizes. It took me a few seconds to type in emailed sizes. It's very simple. Subjects are a big deal with your activities. Make sure you're filling them out not only to help you. Every other person here looks at these activities when they get a phone call from this customer. You're making everybody's job easier by filling out those subjects. That's another way we're going to win in 2015 using the CLM. Business areas. Does anybody know what business areas are used for or why they're important?
Marketing.
Marketing. Why?
They can target.
It's how we target our customers. This is where they're pulling the information from when they go to send out catalogs. If there's one thing that you learn from anything that I talk about during this week, please do this. This is one of the most important things I'll talk about this whole week. Business areas. And I'm not talking about on the account. We had this training back in June, back when things were pretty rough with CLM, and I think a lot of that has fallen away at this point, and nobody really remembers what we talked about. This is the one thing I want you to remember going into 2015. Every account that you touch, you have to go to the tab that's actually labeled as business areas. Once you're under business areas, you can add business areas by simply hitting the plus sign and adding a business area. What does that do for us now? Marketing can now target our customers. We have a field under account that's called business areas that I've made required. That field is not helpful for marketing. This field is where marketing pulls from.
Did that come over, business areas? Did it pull over? Oh, so there's nothing there.
That
So I
populated.
have to put it in both places.
If they were a previous customer in
Oh.
Imagine, it populated.
So only new customers.
All. You're going to want to do it for all. If you go to any account and go to this tab and there's nothing, you're going to want to fill something out for this.
Is there any way it can make you do that before you move on?
I've been trying.
Okay.
Trust
Sorry,
me, if
just
it
a
could be
thought.
required, this field would be required, but it's not
They
something.
don't talk to the accounting tab. The account tab doesn't talk to the business area tab.
And marketing can't pull what they need to pull from the account tab. Also under the account tab, how many business areas can you have under the account tab?
One.
One. Do any of you have any customers that work with multiple markets? Yeah. This is how we have to record that. If you're not filling out your multiple business areas under this field, they're not getting all the correct marketing information. This is a big piece. If you're going to learn anything from all my rambling, do this in 2015. It's going to make marketing better at their job so we can make our job easier. Do this.
And it doesn't matter what you put on the order when you enter the order.
No. The actual market, sub-market that you enter at each order does not affect the account, no. If you're going to do anything,
That.
enter it here. And if you're looking at an account that doesn't have one, put one in. It takes a few seconds, and it's a big win for us. So make sure in 2015, when you're looking at an account in CLM, when you're looking at an account in CLM, make sure you go to business areas, and if there's not something there, put something there. Any questions on that? Yeah! Come on, the 8 o'clock class was even more pumped than this. All right. So with CLM filters, what does CLM filters mean?
Organization.
Yes. This is how you're going to use activities to win in 2015. I just went and told you how you can use activities, how you can use opportunities, and why they're important. But how are we actually going to plan our day in 2015 using activities? Because we got these new filters. Andy keeps saying, oh, he's so busy, he's working on these filters. What did he do? What's that actually mean? CLM filters is the ability for you to create an activity for yourself. And then you come in for the day and you open up a dashboard called SR Activity. It works a lot like Salesforce did, if anybody worked with Salesforce. You come in, you open the SR Activity dashboard. You set your filter to today's activities. It will show you every activity that you have scheduled for today. All of your activities will show up in chronological order, from the oldest, working its way down to the newest. You can simply hop in, click on the activity, see what account it goes to, call or email them depending on what the activity was for, and then either complete it or move on to the next activity.
Question on that.
Yes?
So on the activities, it used to be, it's no longer organized by this time of day that you created it.
It is organized by the time of day. Okay, the reason a lot of people had not been using SR Activities dashboards in the last couple months, it was set up wrong. It was organizing, first off, it was actually pulling by start date instead of end date. So it would actually organize them based on the day that you created the activity. How often do you actually create activities exactly in the order that you're going to do them? I have no idea why it would ever be set up like that. That's how it was set up originally. We went through and we've rebuilt all those filters, so now it actually organizes by the date that we want to complete them by, not the day that they were started by. So that was step one of fixing the filters.
When you complete a task, Does it update quickly?
Not as quick as I'd like it to, no.
Okay.
But as soon as
Because
you hit
then you have
save,
to, like, if I have a whole bunch of paths, then I have to keep scrolling back down to start over and.
so that's the second thing. She said I had to scroll back down. What does that mean? Our other filters used to do it backwards. Not only would it do it by the wrong type of date, it was doing it by start date, not end date. It was doing it by ascending value instead of descending value.
But I like that.
Yes.
Like within the last week?
I've been working on this with Per. It's hard because he's in Sweden and our schedules don't match up exactly. But we've been kind of just working around the clock on this.
Cool.
This actually got completed, completely completed, like Monday night, about 3 a.m. So, big thing to roll out for the sales team. So, first part of it was it actually sorts by the right date. Second part was now it goes by ascending instead of descending. What does that mean? When you used to look at them, even though it had the wrong dates, they'd be in the wrong order. So you'd look and it'd have the dates that are for next week, and then you'd have to scroll to the bottom to see the ones for this week. It's not like that anymore. That has been switched, and now it goes by the oldest are at the top, and you can work your way from oldest to newest.
Sorry, another question.
Uh-huh.
Is there a certain filter that does today and then goes backwards so that I can try to work on my ops from yesterday I might have missed or my activities from yesterday? Because I don't know what filter that is.
Correct. I'll go through them right now.
Okay.
And this is also
Excited.
applicable for the customer's page, where all their activities are listed on
We-
this.
we
I don't
go
know my
through
proper
both of them here.
terminology, sorry. But both were updated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, here's what we're looking at when I say open SR activity dashboard. And everybody, I don't know if we know this, I have a lot of dashboards that I don't think you guys see, but in the Navigator, you go to Dashboards and SR Activity Dashboard. That's what we're looking for. When you open your SR Activity Dashboard, you see a screen that looks like this. This is how you manage your day. You can come in and say, I want to do my tasks for today. This is the screen that you're going to do it on. Has everybody been doing that in the last 6 months?
No.
Yeah, not at all. This is how we're going to succeed in 2015. We now have the visibility of those tasks. So what you can do is you can come in and sit down as a sales rep, and you're just going to set your filters. I want to run through them real quick. By setting your filters, I mean clicking right here and telling it what activities do I want to see. Now it's a little hard to see. I'd point at it, but the pointer is worthless. But the top one says to do. That is a list of every activity that you have in your name ever that has not been checked as done. So if you set it to that first filter to do, you're going to see every activity that's in your name 6 months from now, 6 months past, everything that's not done. When you click on that, it's going to filter them from the oldest down to the newest. Very seldom do I think you would probably use to do, because that can be a very daunting list. The one that you're going to want to use is the second one, called Until Today. Until Today is everything that you have from today and past due that's overdue. This is like in Salesforce, your today and past due tasks. So if you go to Until Today, it's anything that you forgot to do yesterday or earlier up until today. And don't, I wanted to change the names of these, it's harder than you think. But Until Today is where you're going to be working off basically my past due activities. Today only shows today's activities. If you came in today and said, I want to work on today's activities so I can feel accomplished when I go home and I know that I didn't drop any balls, you're going to make sure that today is taken care of every day and you're always caught up. Tomorrow, if you want to work ahead, you can just set it to the tomorrow filter. It will show you all of your activities that need to be done tomorrow. If you're going to be out of the office, taking a vacation, whatever the situation may be, and you want to get caught up for tomorrow, set it to tomorrow's activities. Do those so you know you're not behind when you come in. Next up, we have 2 week and 1 week. Basically, that means from today, I want to see all of my activities either 1 week in the future or 2 weeks in the future. Maybe you're going on a vacation. Maybe you're going to a clinic and you know you're going to be out next week. You can set that filter to 1 week and it will show you all of your activities for the next 7 days. You can work ahead. That way when you get back from your break, whatever it was for, you know you're not going to be way behind. That's how you're going to use those filters. Then the last filter is all. I probably wouldn't select all, especially if somebody that had been using Salesforce. That's all activities you've ever done ever in Salesforce, anywhere, ever, even if it's completed.
What's from today mean?
From today is anything from today moving forward.
So has that changed since maybe Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
Monday night at 3 a.m. is when we finished them.
Gotcha. And does it go in ascending or descending only?
It goes from the oldest will be at the top.
It's wrong on here because he's got the old version pulled up in test because we had those issues this morning.
Yeah, I
So
couldn't
it
remember.
looks wrong on here, but it's right.
And is there a way to have an alarm for it like we did in Salesforce, so it forces you, like if you have to call a customer at 3 and you get busy doing something, it'll pop up like in Outlook or something?
Currently, with Outlook integration, there is an option for us to put it on your Outlook calendar and have alarms. We're not at that point yet.
Okay.
It is something that is an option. Still a lot of stuff that needs to be done. That's more of a future progress.
Okay.
Right now, no, it does not have that. But yes, it is something that has the ability to do. We just got to get to that.
Is there a possibility that like if you click at the top, kind of like in Excel, it would rearrange it for you? Like if I want to go backwards?
No, not currently, no.
I see on Until Today, it's got like emails and calls and stuff on yours. Is that always gonna happen? Like I see that one's done.
It's just showing you what the activity type was. So if I have the activity type set as an email, it shows up as an email in the list.
Again, this is also,
But the new one is that'll just do like tasks, or does it show emails and calls and everything? Yeah.
Well, I mean, all of your not done tasks.
Okay.
If a not done task has an activity type of email, it's an email. I
Right.
mean, depending on how you name your tasks, it's going to show whatever you have them set up.
Cool. So it just won't show done tasks or anything? Or
Yeah, this does not show anything you have set as
Cool.
done, unless you go to all, which shows
Yeah.
all.
What's contacts for down there at the bottom?
That's if you have additional contacts. You can assign an activity to a specific contact. We probably won't use this functionality very much because we don't use contacts a lot in our CLM currently.
We've got the notebook down there.
No.
when you assign an email to a customer, it doesn't show up on contacts on activities, but it shows up as contacts on the account. So when you sign an email through your Outlook integration, that's where the email goes. We still use that, but it's kind of in the background. You don't use it from the front end.
So as you come in, you see your activities, you have your filter set to whatever you're going to do. You can actually click on this tab over here for customer, and it will pull up the customer's account. So you can actually see, okay, I'm supposed to call Ben Reuter, customer number, blah, blah, blah. Here's his phone number. I can do it. I check it as done, move on to my next task. That's how you can use the SR Activity Dashboard in 2015.
Can I ask one more annoying question?
No, you're fine. What's
Can
up?
I click the email and it goes right there?
No.
No.
Same question I asked before.
No, you're
The
fine.
Same screen?
That's something we've have as a
But
coming
it's
feature.
copyable field?
No.
Not on this, no. Yeah, you have to double click and actually go into it from here in order to hyperlink to an email. And you can grab it from there because it's an email.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so double click.
I don't want any.
Yeah, as long as you double click anywhere in this details area, it'll open that account screen for you.
That's fine.
Awesome, thank you. So reps that haven't been in here yet, if they go to do all of their activities
If
from
they go to until
Salesforce,
today, anything that was passed through in Salesforce is waiting for them.
so it might be a good idea to go out and move those to the next time you want to get in front of that customer. So you
Or
probably
just
get
close.
And Brent will be looking at those.
No, I will not.
What happens to the tasks that were under reps that are potentially no longer with GTM Sportswear?
We go back through and I have to reassign those.
You need
That's
those
fine.
ones.
Oh, that.
Yeah, it's a blast. So, we're gonna hop back in because we're getting behind on time here. So, here's how you're gonna plan a successful day in 2015. You're gonna come in, you're gonna open up, you're gonna open your SR Activity Dashboard. You're gonna go to the filter that you want to use, and you're gonna go through and knock out your tasks. That being said, we're gonna move into the Sales Order Dashboard. Pass it over to Ben.
Does everybody use the sales order dashboard?
Yes.
I like that. I mean, they say it, but then they still ask me where their order's at. So we're gonna take a look at it just to go over some of the things and some of the features that maybe we're still missing or maybe everybody's seen, just to do it in one central location. So when you guys wanted the sales order dashboard, you wanted to be able to find your order, where it was at in production, if it was waiting on art, when art was done, all of those things. So we tried to incorporate as much of that as we could into the sales order dashboard. And as you can see, we've added tabs, added highlights, done quite a few different things. It's going to continue to evolve, and we're going to continue to get better with it, and we'll touch on that as we walk through it. But I just wanted to run through some of the highlights of it, some of the main things that I still get questions on, and then we'll move forward into some more in-depth look at the MO lookup part of it. So on the sales order dashboard, how many of you guys have sent an art back to the artist using the return to art feature? Not the rejection, but the return to art feature. Okay, not everybody has done that, and I still get questions on it. Return to art is when an artist gets an artwork and maybe has questions, or they need to update it, or something wasn't entered in properly. They need to move it off of their queue so they can continue working on other artworks to keep them more efficient. So they move it in what's called the return to rep queue. They should be emailing you guys when they have questions. That doesn't always happen. So we have the customer experience group that runs through that list. There was about 500 to 600 arts that were on that order, or on that list. They've knocked down about 400 of them so far. So you guys might be getting emails from customer experience saying, hey, this art is sitting here, we need to figure it out, what we need to do to get it going. But once that gets taken care of, you come in here, you click the return art button, it sends it right back to the artist, gets back on the schedule after you've entered in your notes, and allows them to move forward and continue to produce it. And that return to art button is right here on the vector tab for that artwork.
And the error is normal that you get it back.
As long as the error
Not
says,
my error, my error.
yeah, you're weird. As long as it says execution complete, it's proper. It does give you like a red exclamation mark and kind of scares the bejesus out of you. Bejesus, that's like 18 minutes right there. It scares the crap out of you. But it says, if it says execution complete, then you're good to go. So don't worry too much about that. As long as it says execution complete, it's proper. Plus, if you click off of the vector art tab and then click back on it, that will gray out, and so you know that it works. So if you have any concerns about what popped up, just click off of it and then click back on it, and these will gray out depending on what you've done. That also works for the approve art and reject art. We designed this to be a fail-safe. We've noticed over the past few months that every now and then you may get a weird status that shows up online, and the customer's not able to approve it via their online account, or the in-basket may not load for you for a day. The in-basket really is just the foundation behind all of this. It was never intended for us to be able to approve and reject from there. That was just the quickest way that we could get to be able to go live with it. The approve and reject really should happen from the sales order dashboard. It's the most direct way, the most efficient way for the art to be processed. So if you get an artwork that needs approved or rejected, check it out in your sales order dashboard. You should be checking out the order here anyways, not necessarily the customer's account or using the in-basket. Those are clunky. Those don't always work properly. This is a fail-safe and will work. The approved and reject, when you click on them, depending on what you need to do, if you reject it, it requires you to put in notes, so it doesn't let you just reject it without notes. Approves it right away. It moves on to the next step almost immediately. It'll go from an art status 40 to an art status 90 right away. You'll be able to move past that. The next couple things that I want to point out up here.
Hey Ben, real quick
yeah.
on that, I haven't seen a return to art. So if that's not grayed out,
Yeah.
then where do I go to see the notes from the
You just
artist?
click on the art notes. Yep.
And then I reply there and then hit return to art?
Yep.
Okay.
And if you click return to art before you reply, it'll require you to put in notes.
Okay.
It's set up to loop you through it if you don't.
And if
do
you
it.
click off the screen and come back, even after you put in notes, you still have to put the notes in again.
Yeah,
It's very specific.
it is. It needs you to do it in that exact order, or it won't go. But to move on past that here, what we do is we've got these other sections over here, order progress and order holds. Order progress, I don't know if many of you have noticed it, but if you hover over those bars, it tells you when those steps were completed. So if you go and hover over vector art, it'll give you the date. Don't necessarily worry about the time. The time is internet time, so it's not technically Central Time or Eastern Time or anything like that. There's an international internet timeline.
You would know.
It runs on a 24-hour. But anyways, if you hover over it, it shows you the date that it was completed on. That goes for every step that's in there. If that bar is green, you can hover over it and it'll tell you when it happened. So art approval, you'll know when it was approved. Yeah.
On ship partials, those don't populate, is that correct?
They don't populate completely.
Like, yeah,
It's
but
the
I
dates
couldn't,
won't.
if it, yeah, the dates won't show
The
up.
dates won't, unless, depending on what step you're looking at. If you're looking at, on chip partials, if you're looking at picking and production, they won't populate. But art approval still has to be done before the chip partial can be completed. So the art approval step will still show. That being said, those dates do show. The next question I'm going to get from you guys is, what about credit? Well, credit is something we're working on. There's a modification that we have to do to be able to tag those stops. Because these stops that we see here are something that we put in place as GTM to be able to hold our decorated items. They actually they weren't part of the original system to be able to hold decorated items. So blank items hold themselves and don't need those stops. What that means is if this order was completely blank, these stops would all be green no matter what, unless it's credit. The allocation stops are only relevant to decorated items. Allocation stops don't matter to blank items because the system automatically holds itself on blank allocations. So on blank items, you want to make sure you're allocated here on the line. Don't worry about the thumbs up on that piece. You have to check the line on blank items. But on credit, what we do with credit, we're actually going to be able to tag that with a date, and then you'll be able to see when it's credit approved as well. Once that happens, that's why John sent that email out, and Josh tagged John's email and his, explaining why we need to start communicating 7 to 8 days from art and credit approval. We're getting close to having that date tag done, and once that's completed, we're actually going to be scheduling based off of art and credit approval completion. So it'll get orders moving through on what we actually wanted to do from the beginning that we haven't been able to do yet.
Will it hold the original credit date? Because a lot of orders get unapproved.
Yes.
So it's going to hold the original
Yeah,
credit
and it's going to be
approval
by
date.
line. We have it set up. We have it set up that we can control the rules on that. We just have to give it the ability to tag it, and any of those date changes that are happening, we can do. The biggest piece of that date change modification isn't that we can see when it's credit approved. It's that because we're going to have those dates, we're going to be able to schedule and go off of those. So you guys kind of lose allocations when you reconfigure and stuff like that. You're not going to do that after we get that fixed. Those allocations will hold. We'll be able to hold those allocations based on the order entry date, like we used to be able to do. That way you're not losing them for what you felt was no reason. It's something that we needed to be able to do. It's not easy to do, but we're getting close to being able to do that.
Now, as long as everything's green and there's all thumbs up, it should go through production as scheduled, correct?
It should,
Are
yes.
we finding out why some things aren't? I had an order that went to prep art and then 2 weeks later hadn't moved. Finally called down there and they're like, well, I don't know why, let's go grab it.
It's one out of 1,200 orders that does
Yeah,
that.
so thankfully.
So it's very hard to say that it's a systemic issue or a widespread issue because there's so many variables that go into an order entry, so many reconfigurations, so many different things that happen at different times that it's very hard to pinpoint some of those. And it's 1 out of 1,200 orders that get stuck like that. It's something that's why Ashley and Curtis are down there. It's to continue to make sure that those happen. And after a couple of months of them being down there, they'll have the document that'll allow us to start to dig into some of those deeper. But going forward, yeah, we'll keep an eye on it.
We actually have a team in place with the customer experience group that's going through and not only with the order holds, but with the art holds. And they've cleaned out, what they say, 400, close to 400 of those in the last 2 weeks. And they have about another 200 left. So they're actually going through and cleaning those out, so you should see a lot less and less of those.
And do you feel like the order progress lines are accurate now? Or are they still kind
They
of
just don't work for you.
Is it just
They
me?
didn't work on mine either though.
I'll jump on his boat. Don't work for me either.
Well, it went
I
through
feel like
production
sometimes
and
they
went
are.
back.
They're
and-
better. Again, it has to do with so many variables that we have with the amount of times we have to reconfigure things. Once we have those dates that are consistent, we're able to hold our allocations. We're able to hold the correct MO numbers. We're able to do some of that stuff with those new dates. Those will become a lot more consistent because the way we process orders will be consistent. You won't reconfigure one line and it'll have a different date than another line. They'll all continue to hold the same dates.
Does it have anything to do with the fact that we're mixing processes on an order too though? So when one, like when heat transfers is done, the production tab's completely done, but then when they start an embroidery, it's the green thing about it goes all the way to the left again?
That really shouldn't. If it does, it shouldn't. So I'd have to look at it. But Scott said he had that fixed, so shouldn't be doing it. But to move on, the next thing that I have here is the allocation question that I run into. A lot of times what will happen is on a decorated item, the thumb will be green, you'll think it's good to go, you'll look at the line and it'll say, I ordered one, but it shows 0. And so you're worried that it's not allocated. If the thumb is green on a decorated item, and it shows 1 here and 0 allocated, you're going to want to look at the MO lookup just to double check to make sure. There's the in-between status that shows up where it's actually picking the blank item for production, and it just kind of, it happens, it might be there for an hour, or warehouse might have decided to put off picking production for a while, and they're only picking blanks, so it might stay at that status for quite a while, for 24 hours to 48 hours, but that's just because they're not picking production at that moment in time.
What about the ones that allocate more than you wanted ordered?
That is, I'll show you how that works. That's pretty simple to explain, but we're going to go into that, and I'll show you how that works. It's a little bit confusing, but it's simple to explain, so that makes not really much sense. But if you've got those questions about why there might be something that looks a little odd here, you're going to want to look at the MO lookup. The MO lookup will give you the information that you need to be able to determine what the discrepancy is. So we'll move over here and look at the MO lookup. When you first look at it, you've got the manufacturing orders. These are the list of manufacturing orders that production is going to work on. So you've got line 7 here, the decorated SKU. We need to be able to produce that decorated SKU. And we've got we've got 2 artwork placements on that decorated SKU. To see the materials and what it takes to make this decorated SKU, you come down here, you highlight it, you come down here to the materials tab. On the materials tab, you have the blank SKU, and then you have the 2 art placements that are required. So for production, what they see, they know that they need a blank item, they know that they need these 2 artworks done, and when those are completed, then they've got this decorated SKU. That decorated SKU doesn't exist until these are done. So these are the materials that it takes to create that. That in-between status that I was referring to is if you come here, you see that you've got 1, but it shows 0. If you come here and look at the blank SKU, and it's a status 44, that's pick print, just like a blank item was. And a blank item would be in OS 300 or on the sales order dashboard. That's called pick print. And what that means is it's actually ready to be picked. So allocations are assumed at that point. The system should be able to read that right now. Scott's still trying to figure out why it doesn't, but until he gets that cleared up. If this is a status 44, your allocations are assumed. You don't have to worry about it. That's why the thumb is green. That's why it says it's good to go, because they are there. It's just, it shows 0 because it's in the transition stage between allocating from the blank item and allocating for a decorated item. So what we've got here, this is a status 33, that shows that it's allocated. To move on, once these statuses start to move forward, you'll notice the blank SKU will go to a status 99. If the blank SKU is a status 99, that means it's already been picked and taken to the production floor. Once it's on the production floor, you're going to want to look at the second tab, operations. So once this hits status 99, you know that the operations tab is the next in line, because what do you do after you pick an item? You produce it. So you go to operations.
Can we just give this a name that says done? Or allocated?
Yeah,
Or checkbox?
that's what 99 means.
99, okay.
Those statuses are used at multiple different departments, and so we can't make a change just for sales. And I don't want to make a change just for sales because we're not the only ones that use it. You guys will be getting this print.
No flash retardant.
Everybody uses it. And
So the first
they're
code
really
is
good.
part of it then, is what you're saying? So the number, the first number is mean something, the first three, and then the second three means something else?
Yeah, they mean the same thing, but it's just like in OAS 300, where you look at, we've got a low status and a high status depending on what lines are. You might have some lines that are just reserved and some lines that are invoiced. You've got a low and a high status for each individual line as well. So we've got 2 items here. If we only had one that was allocated to it, you'd have a low here of 2 because it'd just be reserved because we don't have that item, and you'd have a high of 3, so it'd be a status 23, saying We have one item for this order, but not the other.
So there's a lot more to the number than just telling you it's allocated or not allocated.
Yeah, a lot more. And to answer Tyler's question here, the actual line here, when you look back and it'll say 1 order, 2 allocated, doesn't make sense, does it? No. What happens is there's probably a rejection in production, and when they do that, this is a fairly new process, and that's why it hasn't been updated into the sales order dashboard yet to display properly. But what happens is they close out this line. They just make it a status 99 and say, we're done with this line. We're going to add in a new blank material line. So you'll have, if you look at the material, you'll have this blank SKU in here twice. But you'll see here that if this top one is a status 99, it might say 2 reserved, 0 allocated, because they closed it out without allocating that line. They just closed that line. And they added a new one that would say 2 and 2. And so when the sales order dashboard tries to pull it up, it sees 2 material lines in that material status and just adds them together because it doesn't know what to do.
So that's how we know it was rejected in production.
Well, that's one way you can see it. But yeah, the second material line, you would know that it was a production rejection. They had an issue in production. Yeah.
And is that why it duplicates the line too then on the sales order dashboard?
Yep.
Now what about the opposite? What if you have full stock of something, you order 3 and it only allocates 2, and the MO only has 2 and it's completed? We actually ran out of that downstairs today. That's something I'm sure is very rare as well.
It's a reconfiguration issue.
Okay.
If the MO wasn't created properly
Gotcha.
or disconnected properly, it's very rare. But to go ahead and move on, we've got a little bit more information we need to cover here. These statuses will all be handed out to you guys. AJ Gilbert built a really nice status report, explaining them very well. Like I said, 99 on the material, it says check operations for status of production. It tells you what you need to do very simply. Here is the operations tab. You'll notice we have 2 print transfers. That's because we have 2 art placements. So it needs to go through that process twice. So it explains each process as it goes through. These will all go to 90 completed as they're done. Once these are all 90s, once each step is a 90, then you know that that's been done. Your item, your decorated item, will then allocate to the order and be able to be picked and boxed. Those statuses are here as well. And they'll be on that same handout to be able to explain it. He does a very good job. There's way more than what we just put on here, screenshots to actually explain how they work.
So different codes mean different things
Okay.
on different scripts.
What we've got here is the sales rep action items dashboard. It's not a full dashboard yet. It's built as a report. How many people have used this? Okay, that's kind of what we thought here. So when we showed it to you yesterday, we got some feedback that not many people have actually been able to use this. We're not sure why, but we want to be able to show it to you so that when we send you guys out the link, you're going to be using this because it's what you asked for. So going into it, it's more like open orders. So what you'll do is you'll search your name or your 3-digit code, and it'll show every order that you have in the system that's open.
Can you go back to telling me how you got here?
This is just going
We're
to
gonna
be
give you
a web link. I'm going to email you a link and you just click on it and you have this. Everybody has access to this now.
Cool.
So we'll send that to you and we'll explain it a little bit. But he's going to walk through how it works. You can enter in your 3-digit code or your name and then find all your open orders.
So who's excited about this?
Very.
Yes. You guys, I mean, everybody's been so excited over the last 6 months about how easy it is for us to all see our orders. And we thought, you know what? We think we can make it even easier for you. So we came up with this dashboard. Here in this dashboard, basically all you have to do is if you know your little 3-digit code. Does everybody know what that means? When you're entering an order, you have to type in, for example, I'm Andy Schmitz, AS0. You can type in that 3-digit code and it will work here. Or you can type in, Ben, how do you spell your last name?
And this is how I say to customers: F is in Frank, U, C, H, S is in Sam.
Perfect. So I'm looking up Ben, his last name.
Let me try.
There was a K in there.
So, as you type in Ben's name and spell it correctly,
Damn autocorrect.
as you pull it left, you can see here, going left to right, we have the customer number, customer name, customer contact. These are all of the orders that are in Ben's name right now. It's very easy for Ben to see what orders he needs to follow up on by using this report. So as we go across, you can actually see when the order was entered, how many lines are on the order, what the lowest status is of the order, if it's allocated, if it's art approved, if it's credit approved. All of these things as you go across are in one place for you. You want to see something even cooler about it?
Yes.
Get more excited. You want to see something even cooler? Yeah!
Laser light show.
If you want to see all of your orders that have been art approved, all of these different filters can be filtered back and forth. It's like the Imagine action item dashboard. If I just click here, I'm on art approval right now. If I click on it once, it's going to bring all that are art approved to the top. If I click on it a second time, it's going to bring all the ones that are not art approved to the top.
Good job getting cleared up.
So right now, if Ben wanted to call all of his customers that have not approved their artwork, he would want to call these 10 or so customers right here.
Or email Ben to delete the art only orders.
Correct. So then we can do the same thing for credit approval. If you wanted to see what orders Ben has that are not credit approved, we could go credit approval, click it once, credit approval, click it twice. You can see here we have 8 orders that need credit approval under Ben's name.
These are just open orders.
These are only open orders. These are not invoiced orders.
Very good.
Okay, does this filter it by the person who put the order in, or the person
This
who's
is who
responsible
currently
for
is
it?
the owner of the order. On the
Not
the
responsible.
I panel, the one who's actually the owner of the order, they will show up under their name here.
Okay.
So as we scroll to the right, we have some more. You have payment method. Now here we're getting into a point where I want to kind of show you what we're working on and where we're at right now. Right now you have access to this report. This is just a report where you can actually see all of your orders. You can copy and paste stuff from here. So if you wanted to copy this customer number, double click on it, copy, paste. You can do that from here. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit, it does not currently do this, but this is what we're working towards. We want to actually make this into a report that you can use inside Wyatt. The idea is when we actually are using it inside Wyatt, we're getting down into where it says payment method. Does not do this right now, but what we're working on getting it to is you'd be able to click, right now it says credit card on his first order. I would be able to click on it and they're paying with a PO now. I click on it and switch it to PO.
Can I click it in your credit card maybe too?
Correct. These are the type of functionalities. It's not in there right now. That's not in there right now, but these are the things that we're working towards with this report. Also, let's see, this order right here is FedEx Ground. Maybe it needs to go to next day air. When we build our report that will actually be within Wyatt, if I wanted to change this, this is some of the functionality we're working towards. We would just click here and change it to next day air and it would upgrade our order for us.
Now, are we gonna have to go through the process of changing amount and the charge off and?
That's why we don't have it yet. That's exactly what we're working on. So, as we're moving across the top, this is what blows my mind, and we're getting there. So it actually tells you who entered the order. So if Ben's looking at the second one, he's like, I have no idea what's going on with this order. I don't even know who this customer is, but it's under my name. You can see who actually entered that order and be like, Ashley, what's up? It's purple, their school colors are green, what's going on here? So you can actually see who entered your order. As you move across the top, this is where it just blew my mind. Hopefully it'll do the same to you. Watch that left column over here, customer number. We don't want that to lose as we scroll to the right. So it'll go ahead and snap so it doesn't disappear for you. Woo! Ah, yeah! Yeah! So we got that functionality where you won't lose that customer number. In the same way, if you scroll to the bottom, those top boxes don't disappear. They stay at the top of your screen. So you don't have to worry about guessing what tab you're in. So as we come to the right, we have net sales. What is net sales? Does everybody know what that means?
Before tax.
Before tax. Does this include tax?
No.
Does this include shipping?
No.
Does this include super quick and external charges? No. This would be comparable to like what your actual op value would be when you enter your opportunities for every order that you enter, right?
Except I put super.
Yeah, super quick, sorry. So, that's what we're looking at on net sales. Now here's the last part that should not get a bunch of oohs and ahs. What's this last status? It actually shows you where your order's at in production. It kind of shows you what you're actually waiting on as far as that order. So if Ben wanted to look at this first order, what step is he on? What's he waiting on? Picking. You can actually mouse over it and let your mouse sit, and it will show you how far through it's made it in production. If you want to go down here and you want to see what one of these orders looks like, you can see it's made it 100% through art approval, but now it's stuck on prep art. If you want to go down here and you want to see where this one's at, 100% through vector art, but not art approval. You can actually see where it's at in production just by mousing over and letting it sit there on the last
So
tab.
manufacturing is production.
Yes, for the most part, unless this is an art only.
CTO, it's.
Are you gonna go over has issues column, because you skipped it?
Yes, sorry, has issues. Now don't get super alarmed if you see one that has issues. Has issues means that there could potentially be something wrong with this order that's holding it up. How much easier for it is you now to just go to this, see if it's under a has issues tab, and you can actually say, wow, I may want to double check and make sure everything's good on this order right here.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's critical. It just means there's potentially something that could be holding it up. Whether that's an art file that should have the same name, has two different names, is something that small that could be causing that. So it's not something that's critical, but it's something you may want to take a look at just to double check it.
Like how does one that is completely thumbs up have an issue?
It could have incorrect art names on it. The vector file IDs could be wrong. It's probably not a critical issue at this point. But you can take a look at it, make sure that it seems like everything's okay. If it seems like everything is okay, you might just want to keep an eye on it. If it hasn't moved in a couple of days, send it to your manager, ask him to check with Curtis and Ashley, and they'll be able to verify that everything's okay and move it through production if it is being held.
Very old order number.
Yeah, it's probably screwed up.
That's what we're working on right now.
It's one of the.
So as we're sending this out to you, this will be in our handout, so to speak. We're emailing you this type of information. We'll have those handouts from his part of the statuses, and also the links so you can start using this now. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, if you have any feedback as you're using it, be sure to send it to us. We set up the requirements for this and actually got it to where it is right now based on things that you had asked us. Now if you're using it and you're like, I want this box to be moved over here because I can be more efficient this way, or I think it should be able to do this, or I want this box to be an option, send those types of things to us. We're still working on the final product for this report, and it will actually be something that's in white. So if you want to be able to just click on that order number and it opens it in OIS 300, send that to us. Make sure that we know that that's the type of stuff that we want to see. So when we build our final requirements for the dashboard, it's all in there.
I think if you guys
We-
could walk.
We've got
Not
a,
right now, though.
we've got a couple of things we want to touch on, and we need to get moving.
Yeah,
It's
we
about
have
time.
5
So
minutes.
if you've got other questions about these kind of things, suggestions, email them to us. Right now is not the forum for that at this point. So moving on, we want to take a quick look at the inventory lookups, MMS 200 and MMS 080. Those are the inventory and material plan. There's some misconceptions about the material plan, and I want to clear those up really quick. So on MMS 200, there's going to be an update rolling out that actually gives you guys better visibility into order statuses, or into item statuses. Is everybody familiar with status 20s, 50s, and 80s on items?
Yeah.
A little bit, but I still get questions about it, so I'm going to talk about it. So status 20 here is an active item. You'll notice it's green. That means it's good to go. It's a fully active item. We haven't discontinued it yet. We still plan on ordering it. As long as we have inventory, you can sell it all day long. You'll also notice here that I've got a link built on the SKU. This will take you directly to MMS 080, or the material plan. So on the material plan, I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but I want to get that initiated here. Moving on to the statuses. I've got status 20 set up as green. If you hover over it, it says it's active. So at a glance, when you search the SKU, you know that that item is good to go as long as we have allocable net. As long as we have allocable net, you can sell it. On status 50s, they're yellow. That means it's discontinued. The inventory that we have is the inventory that we have. We do not plan at this point to reorder that item. If it's status 50, you can only sell what we have available to sell in the allocable net. Status 80 is fully discontinued. We are out of inventory. You can't sell it. In fact, you're probably looking at the screen because you know we're out of inventory, but you wanted to double check because you didn't trust the system. So it's telling you that it's out of inventory again. Clicking on this link and going into the material plan. To go into the material plan, do not use it as a way to tell where you stand in line for POs. That does not matter. Where they stack up in line is irrelevant. You only want to use the material plan for these POs. You don't care where it falls in line. If you need to know if you're on the next PO coming in, check with inventory management. They'll be able to look. There's a program we can get to, but they're the only ones that need to be able to access that program. So just ask them if you need to see if you're on the next PO coming in. But what you want to look at here, you only care about these bottom 3 PO statuses. Anything above this, the forecast and proposed POs, don't mean anything. That's what supply chain uses to see if we need to order it. It's forecasting. They just need to see based on demand if we need to order it. They can change, they're extremely variable. Moving into these 3 POs, you start to see the statuses get, you can have more confidence in the statuses of the POs. So you see issued PO, that means we've sent the PO to the supplier. The supplier hasn't necessarily acknowledged that they can do it on our timeline, but we've sent it to them. It's a purchase that we've put out there. Confirmed PO means they've accepted that PO and they're going to be producing it on our timeline that we've requested. In-transit PO means that they've produced that PO and it's on its way here in some form or fashion. It's boxed sitting on the dock in China or Guatemala. It's on a train coming from Kansas City here. That's what in-transit PO means. When it hits in-transit PO, the date that is next to the PO isn't always going to be correct. That date comes from the issued and confirmed PO dates. If there's anything that changes based on customs wanting to take a look at our items, based on the factory being a week and a half or 2 weeks behind, you'll want to check those items. If you have somebody that really needs to know now when it's going to be there, you can check the knowledge base that we talked about yesterday, the FAQ knowledge base. Those dates will be updated, just like supply chain always posted on Yammer and emailed out. Those dates will be updated in the knowledge base. You just search that PO number and you'll find it. Yeah.
What color would you look for if you're trying to tell a rep or tell a customer when they might be coming in? What color would you mainly look for to say, hey, I think the green, only the green?
I would only,
okay.
That's where you'd have the most confidence. It's just like it says here, that again, the date may not be correct,
right,
depending if there's any variables, but that means that
you can at least give them that month.
Yeah, that means that PO has been produced and it's on its way to us.
Okay.
So hopefully this was helpful. We went through a lot of different things on your dashboard. Hopefully when you look at it now, it's not as confusing. You know what tool you're using, why are you using it, and how you're going to be successful in 2015. The thing that we have for a challenge for you, we want you to go back through your My Action items, that email link that we went through that showed you all of your orders that are missing credit approval, art approval. We got to get those cleaned up. Big thing, as we're going through our accounts, we have to put the correct business area on each account. That's my challenge to you. Make sure that in 2015, you're putting your business areas on your account. And that's how we're going to drive to success in 2015. Thanks a lot, guys.
Do you practice your closings